Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. This is primarily a backup video, but we're going to do it anyway just to make sure everything is running smoothly. In the second hour, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, we're going to have MindSpark Interactive Network. It's going to be joining us. Deb Josephs is the Senior Vice President of People Operations for MindSpark Interactive Network. And we're going to be talking about seasonal trends in the job market, especially in the tech industry. It's going to be a really interesting show. So sit back, relax, as we bring you 2 hours of Computer America coming at you right here.
What he said.
Yeah.
1 minute until showtime.
And there you go. I can't believe how fast CES is coming up.
The what is? Oh, CES.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 20 seconds. Ten seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And I cannot believe how fast the time is moving by. You're going to be out at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. It's almost around the corner.
It won't be long. It won't be long.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be talking about all of that in the second hour of the show, how you can meet us out there at Showstoppers and the CES event. Ben's going to be out there along with a number of our Computer America correspondents. Sandy Berger's going to be out there. A whole bunch of people. David Perry, Charles Tendell, Josh Boykin is going to be out there for our Gamer Tuesday.
Yes, he will.
Yes, he will. All from Pop Zara. It's going to be a reunion of some, or actually a first time. You're gonna meet a lot of these people for the first time.
It's not a reunion because we've never met, so it would be a union.
A union, exactly. Okay, I'm very excited about the show. In the second hour, we're going to be bringing to you computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, I'm very pleased to bring our first hour guest, who is MindSpark Interactive Network. They're going to be joining us in the first hour. As a matter of fact, anything else you want to mention? Let's just bring them on, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Well, as I said, our guest today is with MindSpark Interactive Network, a leading consumer software applications company and an operating business of IAC. MindSpark is home to some of the most popular and engaging consumer software products available today, with software applications for virtually any device in categories such as lifestyle, entertainment, mobile, and PC utilities. Their global divisions innovate and produce a diverse and expanding portfolio of products and experiences, from customized software products and mobile apps to award-winning PC utilities. Now, one of these products, in fact, is Slimware Utilities. Joining us today is Deb Josephs. Deb is the Senior Vice President of People Operations for MindSpark Interactive Network, and will be focusing on the seasonal trends in the job market, especially in the tech industry. Deb, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Great. Thanks, Craig, and thanks for the invitation and opportunity to be on the show.
Our pleasure. You know, and I understand this is your first time on the show. So why don't you
It is.
why don't you give our listeners a little bit of a background about yourself? Love to hear that.
Sure. I only recently joined MindSpark about 4 months ago. I've been brought on board to develop strategies, implement those strategies to attract and retain and grow talent around our organization. We're focusing a lot on employee development as well as organizational effectiveness. We'd like to develop opportunities for employees to have a full career and advance throughout the organization at MindSpark. Prior to joining MindSpark, I was with a company called Exhalate. Is now a Nielsen company. Worked on global initiatives around recruiting and retention. And prior to that, with an online media company called Everyday Health, and also in human resources or people operations capacity. And then I was also with as the head of HR at DoubleClick, part of a team that led us through the acquisition by Google.
Wow, a very interesting and diverse background.
I understood about half those words, so we're good. We're good.
Uh-oh.
No, that's fine.
No, I got the gist of it. You're really in charge of MindSpark to get people trained and make sure that they keep advancing, and that's very interesting because I've never really heard anyone with that with that mission, with that title, to really make sure that their employees it's not just you fill a role and that person stays there until the job is done. It sounds like you really want people to kind of advance, move around, really become part of MindSpark and not just an employee of MindSpark.
Absolutely.
So, Debbie, obviously the holidays are approaching, and now, is this the time of the year when hiring kind of slows down, or is that just a myth?
I've certainly seen a slowdown in some businesses, particularly with a lot of people taking vacation time and not available for interviews. But it's a little bit of a myth in the tech industry. We're always looking for talent, and we're constantly outsourcing, particularly on the engineering side, and trying to develop a pipeline as we gear up for the beginning of the year when our budgets kick in, and we need to bring more talent into the organization in the new year. So we're continuing our recruiting efforts this time of year.
It's interesting because there have been times where you hear, oh, don't get your application, don't get your resume out until after the holidays, because everybody is they're not there or they're away on vacation, and but you're saying that when that really doesn't come into the picture for most part. If you're ready, if you're looking for work or you're looking to hire, regardless of the holidays, people should submit their resumes and to you.
I think that's true in technology.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we do at MindSpark, which is a terrific perk, is we kind of close our offices, soft close our offices between the holiday, Christmas and New Year. And so you're not going to get a reply during that time. But just leading up in these weeks in early December, we're still pretty actively recruiting.
We do the same thing. We basically, we're a tech show, and it's one of the only times we take off about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So we kind of do best of shows. So it kind of the same thing kind of goes for us too. So with the holidays approaching, and this is the time of year when hiring slows down, except for the tech industry. Are there seasonal trends in the job market in general, or is it just from a tech industry standpoint?
So I think there's two sides, right? There are seasonal trends from a candidate's perspective, and people going on vacation, and some candidates stop looking around that time, particularly if they're expecting, there are currently employed candidates who are expecting perhaps a bonus payout in the new year. They're going to slow their efforts down. So it's seasonal for them in all industries toward the end of the year. From a recruiting perspective, we're still working to find talent all year round. But we also, have to navigate the waters of vacation times and schedules.
Right. No,
and I think that's a big difference, because when whenever people think about seasonal hiring and things like that, I think that a lot of those numbers and and all the charts and everything, they count. They take into account retail and the service industry, where things really start to pick up. More people are traveling, more people are spending time with their family. There's a lot of different sectors that are in need of workers, and then there's others that like you said, that they kind of stop hiring because they want to wait until the new year. But it sounds like tech is a small subset of those numbers, and if you're a person with tech experience, you should have you should have your resume out 365 days a year.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, exactly. So, Deb, going into 2016, boy, 2016. Are there
Greg, 2002 was not yesterday.
No, it was not. Yeah, exactly. Going into 2016, would you say that there are certain trends you expect to see in terms of the skills or characteristics that will be most in demand?
I would say yes. There's been an ever increasing search for skilled workers in new technologies and new programming languages. And mobile is still, I'm going to call it a trend, although I think it's the longest 10-year trend ever, new trend ever. But we're seeing a lot of growth in data and data engineers, developers who can work within certain programming languages around data, and folks who are able on the data analytics side to bring value to the table. We're a pretty data-driven organization, and we are growing our capacities heavily there. So I think those are going to be core skills. And I also think that these are positions in high demand. We are seeing a lot of competition for this type of talent because the market doesn't have a plethora of skilled workers who have been in business analytics or have been in data science positions, and they're just now graduating and in very high demand. So we've got a lot of competition for those types of skills, but they're hopefully the pool of candidates are growing and growing and in our favor.
So if you're in the computer science curriculum at the university, you should feel very good about what Deb is saying, because it sounds to me there's going to be plenty of job opportunities out there.
And something else that I kind of picked up there was that in computer science, technology is everywhere, fortunately or unfortunately. I say unfortunately because if you're a computer science major, dabbling in a little bit of everything is great, but there's so many small little subsections that you can specialize in. And over there at MindSpark, you mentioned data processing and data management and things like that, and that's getting harder and harder every day as we get more and more data. It sounds like someone can go into computer science and then really narrow down to something that is new or emerging, and they're going to be in the highest demand because if let's say you've been working with computers for 20 years, you're going to be just like everyone else. You're going to have to go back and take all new courses and learn all new things, just like the fresh out of high school guys are.
Yeah, I think Ben is right, because my degree is computer science and engineering, but I graduated back in '82. And back
dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. When dinosaurs roamed the earth, I understand. But most everything that I picked up or learned back then, really very little applications. I mean, I was studying things like COBOL and Fortran and Pascal. You mentioned programming languages today. Any particular areas? I mean, you mentioned sectors like mobile apps and cloud computing, but are there any particular sectors that are kind of leading the way in the skills that you're looking for, Deb?
It varies. We do hire .NET, Java developers, but in the data space, our developers, Python, some of those newer languages are becoming more skills we're seeking. So those are typically used in more of the data modeling languages. So there's a wide variety. We tend to try to look for some of the newer things, and that's what engineers want to work on. Most of the developers want to work on the latest and greatest type of programming language and feel it's the next best thing. So it's great that we're utilizing that as well.
No, I mean, it sounds that way. I mean, what I think C++ was really cutting edge, bleeding edge when I was getting ready to graduate, and so everybody was kind of scrambling to learn that. But I mean, things like HTML5. I mean, the HTML programming language, which is the underpinning of websites today, how you create websites, and that's kind of replacing things like Java and Flash. They're kind of being phased out because, quite frankly, everything you can do in Java and Flash, you can actually do in HTML5. Are the skills that you're looking for? Are you looking more for HTML5 programmers? I mean, can you be a little more specific as what you're looking for over at MindSpark?
I'm probably not the right person to ask the question.
Okay.
We post all of our open positions. If you're specifically asking about MindSpark, we do post them on our site and our career site. We have a person in-house in the organization who focuses very much on technical recruiting, and her sole purpose is to source candidates with very specific programming language skills that we need. So It could vary from day to day, and so there's a variety of skills we're looking for, and they just are posted for each role.
See, even in your division, you have specialization. I mean, talk about being specialized. I mean, you're obviously the senior vice president of people operations, but then you have to have people who work with you or under you to kind of narrow it down or focus it down, because it's really becoming a very exacting science. I mean, there's so many areas of expertise and specialization today that you really need to have something like that.
Within MindSpark, we have several hundred employees in all of our divisions globally, and for one person to handle it would be quite challenging. There are many aspects of people operations, not just recruiting, but giving feedback, training programs, all the activities that we offer to folks. So it takes a team. It certainly does.
Yeah, and that's extremely important. So you would say in general that hiring in the tech industry is really competitive?
I would. It is the war for talent, and it feels like that very uniquely to the tech industry. I know there are other industries that certainly are not experiencing that the way we are, and it's difficult. We're not just looking for data scientists and mobile developers. Those certainly can be difficult to find, but we're looking for other qualities as well in who we hire. They need to be a good fit from a corporate culture perspective. We're kind of looking for a certain type of person who will thrive at MindSpark. We also have been able to hire folks or acquire talent, if you will, through a couple of our acquisitions, and Apollon and Slimware Utilities being two of them. So that's another way we can bring in talent.
Yeah, no, exactly. So you mentioned you have all these different candidates. Let's kind of reverse the roles here. What are all these candidates looking for in an employer? What would you say?
Everybody wants Google, right? Everybody wants to work in an environment that has the little motor scooters going through the hallways and bikes around the campus and the perks and the food. We can't all offer what Google does, but there is a certain expectation when an employee joins or is interviewing for an organization that they want to work in a fun environment, and they would like those perks like free food and other benefits. And so we do have a lot of those benefits. We have unlimited vacation time. We offer rooftop yoga and breakfasts and lunches and our parent company, the IAC, their building in Manhattan offers bikes that employees can check out and ride up and down the Hudson, which is lovely. But also we see candidates want to work in a challenging environment. They want to know what's their next career move within the company. How will MindSpark grow their career? Can they be innovative? As I mentioned before, can they work on the next best programming language? And particularly in technology, our engineers, data scientists, all of our developers really want to be innovative. They want to work on new things. They want to learn new languages at the company. So we have to offer them an opportunity to grow within MindSpark. So that's a big part of it. Another piece they're looking for is to like who they sit next to. They spend a great amount of their daily lives in an office space, in an environment, sitting with people right in their next cubicle. They want to feel as though that's someone they can get along with. And in fact, more so, they actually want to be friends with the person they sit next to. So we try to create that environment that attracts people who can get along with each other and fit in with the culture, but we know will be friendly and will be able to connect with their colleagues. It's very meaningful for employees to make those connections and say that they have friends at work, that they can inspire each other and that they can help each other. And we operate with respect and gratitude and trust and integrity. And that's a part of the environment they want to be in.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned, because I mean, there's a number of movies out too, but I've seen the documentaries on Google and the workplace, and so many other companies that are similar, that are tech companies in general. And it is almost, I would say, counterintuitive to the old Office Space. I know there's a movie out there called Office Space where everybody's kind of miserable and everybody kind of hates their job, and I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's kind of, and when you go to Google and you see everybody is like, it's a very playful environment. I mean, they have common areas where everybody kind of interacts, and they might be having lunch together, but they might be talking about ideas that they have, and it's sort of like it
is very weird that a company so focused on technology would try to foster as much creativity as possible. You know, Google, I mean, sure, there's Google Doodles, but how many people does that take to run? It's you know, they're in the process of, you know, advertising and data storage and that kind of thing. And yet, you know, one of the largest companies in the world, and they have, you know, 20% of every week dedicated to new ideas. And I guess, is that a trend in tech hiring in general, where people, you know, yes, you know the programming language, yes, you know this, yes, you know that, but at the end of the day, they want to do, you know, a little bit more than what's on the job description.
We certainly at MindSpark and other companies I've worked with, we're absolutely seeing tech folks, you know, core engineers who want to learn more. They want to be innovative. They want to be able to voice their ideas, be heard, and even help see those ideas implemented, whether they're product ideas or even business operations ideas. They want to contribute. So it's becoming an expectation for sure, and we have to cater to that. We've got to make sure we're in creating an environment that allows for that and fosters that innovation and listens to our folks. We can't just expect them to code 8 hours a day, walk in the door, code for 8 hours, go home. Maybe they'll grab a bite in between. They expect more from us.
That was the old model. You know, you would have your programmers in the basement, you'd throw raw meat to them occasionally, you know, and close the door. And that was it, because that was.
But now they have a taste of sunshine, and it's hard to get them back down there.
Exactly. Gets really in this dark cellar. And that was the old model. That really doesn't work. And especially in today's. I mean, you have to foster creativity and have interaction. It's important how people feel about each other, and have a good feeling about each other so they can work and productively together, and we see that happening more and more companies out there that are picking up that model.
I've been in technology over 10 years. Prior to that, I actually worked in the financial industry. So I consider having two parts of my career completely. The financial industry being the old model, and moving into technology being really a different level of expectation from the worker. They expect from the employer and not just the other way around. And a lot of that comes from working with newer generations, millennials, coming up the pipeline, where they're expecting very different things from where they work, and they have the option to go and work somewhere else if we don't meet their expectations. So retaining employees becomes the challenge, and we have to meet all of their expectations if we want to keep these good folks.
It's sort of like, it's like the real estate market. You have a buyer's market, and then you have a seller's market, and it sounds to me like you're sort of in the market where the employee is, because there's so many job opportunities, are getting to choose and pick, and so it gives.
But that's not really a bad thing. I mean, if an employee is happy at the job that they're at and they're willing to stay there, I mean, they're going to be a better employee than someone who's, like you said, come in 9 to 5 and maybe having lunch. They're going to do better work.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now, do you at MindSpark, do you have like little do you have like different group sessions, on Thursday afternoon? We're going to be meeting.
Well, you said that you foster, not only having, being friends with the people you work with, but, a real team environment. Like, what do you do to foster that?
Mm-hmm.
So we first of all, we have all company activities. That might be, we all had Thanksgiving lunch, we were having a holiday party, we had summer parties. We try to foster the social interactions in the office. In the smaller groups, team leaders and managers of departments can, have budgets to take their folks to grab a bite to eat or to go out for a drink. We also, from a higher level HR or activities committee, if you will, organize happy hours and things so that people can get together. We also offer other kinds of games and fun, like we have a Nerf gun war in the office. It's not quite a war, but it does create quite a playful environment, and so that's a lot of fun. People do look forward to that. And we offer smaller things, interest group activities. There's yoga, there's a ping pong table where we have a community area in our Yonkers office, so employees can gather informally and play video games or ping pong and have snacks and lunch and so forth. We also have a rooftop deck, which is beautiful, overlooking the Hudson. So
wow.
We try to create this fun environment that people want to come to work in.
See, and you mentioned that you came from the a financial background, and I'm sure if take that same atmosphere 20, 30 years ago, and your middle management saw that kind of thing, they would see that as a huge waste of time and waste of resources and just not very good management of your employees. But I guess you guys are still doing it, so it must be working for you.
It's working. I'm pretty sure it's working. We're actually, you mentioned Star Wars earlier. We're taking everyone to see the Star Wars movies.
Is that
nice?
so cool?
We try to keep topping ourselves as much as possible.
That's very cool. Yeah, the Star Wars coming out the
18th.
18th, yeah, exactly. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Now, again, you have all these wonderful programs or things that you're doing to encourage your employees to be relaxed, to yet at the same time to inspire creativity, and this is important. I mean, is there any money incentives, or is it strictly just fun? I mean, if they come up with someone with a great idea, are there bonuses? I mean, how do you deal with that?
Yes, the short answer is yes. But we are a meritocracy. MindSpark pays for performance. So to start, you're walking in the door with compensation that matches your skills and expertise, compensation offer that is hopefully in market and it's competitive. We can't always compete with the Googles or the investment banks, but we do our best, and we do market studies, and we do make sure that we're maintaining that competitiveness. We offer benefits to employees, sort of subsidized benefits. MindSpark pays the majority of our benefits, health and welfare and so forth. And we also offer a share in the company's profits, if you will. So at the end of the year, if the company does well, we create a bonus pool. And that bonus pool is distributed to employees based on how their individual performance was. So on an annualized basis, we will look at their base salary to make sure that they're still in market and they're being paid for their performance. And if they get promoted, we want to compensate accordingly. And we also would reward them with a share of how the company did. If they're, if they contributed to the overall success of the company, we want them to feel that.
Right, and I assume all the promotions and that thing are based upon the different department managers. It's up to them to assess this and keep track of all of it.
So at the end of the day, employees want to feel that they're being paid fairly, right? They want to be able to look at their neighbor and say, yeah, I don't kid myself anymore. Millennials and more talk to each other about what they're making. So we can't keep that a secret. So we want to make sure people know that they're being paid fairly for the work that they do. So yes, at the management level, the department head level, they'll make a recommendation to us. And by us, I mean to myself and to other executives to recommend a promotion for somebody. But we want to make sure that it's in line with promotions across the organization. So I'll look at that holistically and make sure we're being fair. I wouldn't want to promote someone into a VP position and it not be perceived as appropriate by another department. So I do look at things across the organization and different functions.
No, that makes sense. Deb, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to take a little commercial break, and then we'll get right back to you. We'll talk more about millennials and
those darn kids.
Exactly, those darn kids. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, you're listening to the Computer America Show. Deb Josephs is here, Senior Vice President of People Operations for MindSpark Interactive Network. We'll be right back.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
No, I didn't date my classmates. I went to a boys' school. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, Steel. That's a book title. Always brilliant nonfiction author Brooke Stoddard profiles the ancient roots and enormous reach of an entire industry in steel, from mine to mill, the metal that made America, from Zenith Press. He explores the ancient irony of iron as a rare treasure, millennia of steps to bring it to manufacturability at an ever-escalating pace, centuries of boom, decades of bust, and he's never one-dimensional. Metallurgy, society, economics, and invention get their due, as do the telltale pressures of history. Bottom line, Brooks Stoddard Steel, From Mine to Mill, the metal that made America, reads like a caring biography by looking at the humanity, drama, and metal that shaped this ubiquitous metal. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yes, 33 minutes past the hour, and we are here with Miss Deb Josephs. She is from MindSpark Interactive, and she's Senior Vice President of People Operations. And yeah, and you know, something right before the break that you said, something that I personally ran into when I was at a different job, and that was, you know, I would go into the office, and it took me about, I don't know, probably about 2 weeks before, you know, I, you know, start really making friends, and you know, everyone there was really, really nice. And one day I offhandedly mentioned, you know, how much money I made there. And like the place where I worked, I would say the average age of the employees were between 40 and 60. And me, you know, I was 22 at the time, I think. So, you know, I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm making this much an hour, you know, and my take home was this much. And they all kind of gave me the stink eye, and they were all just looking at me. I was like, what? Who did I hurt? And, you know, a couple of the other younger guys there, they, you know, they were more than willing to share with me how much they made. And, you know, it was just an everyday conversation. But it turns out that, you know, sometimes you can even get in trouble for sharing that kind of information. Yeah. Do you see that happening, you know, at MindSpark?
Yeah, I'm laughing at the story. No. I mean, the short answer is no, because I've learned to expect it. That it's something folks will share with each other much more willingly now than years ago. And I learned that lesson the hard way at a different company, and assumed that people were keeping their own compensation to themselves, and that was not the case. So if I'm doing my job right, which is making sure people are paid fairly, I shouldn't be worried about them sharing salary information. I wouldn't encourage it. I think it is a private thing. I still think that because I'm old school, but I can't expect people to keep it to themselves anymore.
And I realize this is how the mindset has changed, not only in the tech industry, but in the job industry in general, because that used to be, it used to be unheard of. I mean, there were people that would lose their jobs.
My coworkers look, you know, very upset that I just said that, and it was very weird, very weird.
But I think it was a matter of company policy. If you were to disclose what you were earning to a fellow employee, that was grounds for expulsion. I mean, that's where it was, 20, 30 years ago.
Well, the trick is not to have anything to hide, right?
Right.
So,
that's a good trick,
Yeah, then you're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They must have had something to hide long ago.
They must have, because I remember. I mean, I was in the job market back then too. I was, and no one would ever disclose what they were making, and if would even if you were to ask somebody, well, that was unheard of. You weren't supposed to do that. I mean, but again, right. look how things have changed.
I blame Facebook. I mean, you share everything nowadays, so why not a salary?
There you go.
That's true. I mean, everybody is so interconnected, and with social networks and social media today, I think that it really is hard to keep that kind of information secretive.
Right.
There's so much. There's so much disclosure today. Now, you mentioned the word millennials just before we took the break.
Well, before we even get further into millennials, something that has come up in a lot of conversations with other guests, I know Intel is doing a lot with this, and a couple others. They're really fostering, and simply because you are hiring talent and seeking candidates to fill positions. Intel and many other companies are fostering diversity in the tech industry. I mean, it's they said that it's a huge problem. That's it's overwhelmingly white males. Like, they have there's such a majority that getting minorities and getting women especially seems to be a huge effort. Are you seeing a disparity there, or just as anecdotal?
Absolutely, Ben. There's definitely a lack of diversity in the tech industry. It's a very broad general statement, I realize. I don't have the numbers offhand, but they do support that. And we are putting in place for 2016, and something I think we've tried to do before as well, and I'm not sure about prior efforts at MindSpark, but I've done in other companies. But for 2016, very focused initiatives around diversity, recruitment, and retention, where women in tech, African Americans in tech, there are very targeted organizations that host job fairs or where we can advertise and recruit from, and really try to bring in a more diverse workforce. That doesn't mean to say we're not diverse. Our tech recruiter is a Black female, just as an aside, which is fabulous. But still, we need more diversity in MindSpark.
And when we had Intel on the show, they'll talk about things like STEM, which is initiatives to get females.
Yeah, the education part of it. I mean, just as myself, I was taking computer science courses not even a year or two ago, and it even in school it's mostly white males. It's I'm not going to kid you, but I think if the efforts to push education or push women into STEM education, minorities into STEM education, but then I gotta be honest with you, I think women and African Americans, they're just like anyone else. They're going to want to go where the jobs are. So I guess if more tech companies, more people in the tech industry say there are jobs here ready to take you as soon as you get your degree, get to it.
We as early as possible. We're involved in Girls Who Code. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where college and high school students are participating in learning to code, and we host. Every summer we host Girls Who Code interns and offer programs and education around that. And it's in hopes of creating a pipeline of candidates in the future. I mean, I have to be honest, that's what we're really all about, right? We want to bring more diversity into the company. Yes.
So there is that term millennials again, generations. And there are definitely changes in the at least it's from but how do you see changes across generations in terms of what millennials, let's say, are seeking in the job market?
Absolutely. The millennials are looking, I mean, I am generalizing, which is obviously something as an HR person I try not to do, is stereotype. However, there are characteristics of our millennial workers, and they're very entrepreneurial. They are looking for the opportunities to work with friends, and they see this play out, especially in tech startups, right? How many startups have started in a dorm room with their buddies? And as we talked about before, the office environment, the fun and games, but even the open workspace, the flat corporate structure, the collaborative team working environment, a lot of those practices have bubbled up from millennials. Interesting though, now we're just starting to see the next generation, and this was new to me just a few months ago, learning about Generation Z, those born after 1996, roughly. And these are folks similar to millennials. They're comfortable with technology. They had really not lived in an environment without technology. They grew up with Snapchat and Facebook and all of the social media, and they have different expectations and needs as well. We're seeing a little bit of Gen X now coming into the workforce, Gen Z. They're very comfortable with working with their buddies. They like that face-to-face collaborative team environment. And this puts us in a position at MindSpark to now make sure we're addressing their needs as well. So we're seeing a lot of that come up.
Yeah, actually, Generation Z after 1996, and I think that's we're seeing a shift again in our social environment, that people who such of these, and even the millennials. I mean, they're growing up with the technology, and we're seeing
This is so weird because there's article after article that that you can go find on the internet that says that is technology making us antisocial? Is technology ruining the kids? And you're saying that hey, collaborative efforts are more important than ever to these to this generation.
Yeah, I'm seeing that at work. They're not using social media in the office, right? They're to work. They're using social media outside of the office. Their needs in the office are to be socially interactive.
And that's a great thing. And that's it.
I know.
And because some of the innovative practices that you mentioned earlier certainly fit into that requirement. Where they're groups and they're doing things together, even going out to see a movie together, like the Star Wars. This is all where they can interact with each other rather than just typing on a keyboard on Facebook. I mean, this is all helps them to be interact with their workers and be more friendly and while they're doing that, the little ideas that pop up and kind of share those ideas, which translates into more business. That's the way to go. Yeah, exactly. So you talked about a couple of them. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about some of the additional innovative practices that MindSpark has adopted to create an appealing workspace? Could you kind of expand a little bit more on that?
Sure. I don't know how unique they are. Many of these are ideas that are born from other companies or competitors. Mm-hmm. We try to be as all-encompassing as possible. And again, we've got the snacks and lunch offerings mm-hmm. and yoga and perks and things like that. We've got benefits and 401k plans and the like. But we also are trying to be unique in offering an opportunity for employees to grow and stay in the company. And they're the intangibles. There's for me, employees will stay with the company if they have a good boss. So my job is to create good bosses, right? That's what it's all about. I'm hoping to train managers to be better managers, and therefore their employees will follow them along. And an employee who sees an opportunity to grow at MindSpark, sees their line of sight into their career path, understands from their manager what it takes to get to that next level, is more likely to stay than somebody who doesn't. And we want to retain that talent. We also want to make sure we're offering opportunities for people to grow, not to replace their manager necessarily, but perhaps to be promoted into individual contributor roles, because not everybody can be a manager. So we want them to see a line of sight in a career path that doesn't force them to become a manager if that's not what they want. We're looking for ways for more collaboration, for employees to work on projects that maybe stretch them out of their comfort zone sometimes. Maybe they weren't originally hired for something, but for them to be continual learners, which is something we want. Maybe we introduce them and rotate them into different functions or business units in the company. So by acquiring Apple and Slimware, we've introduced more emerging products to our suite that some of our folks who work in the core business may have a chance to rotate through and learn a little bit more about that line of product and work on projects or functions within different parts of our business, which gives them a broader experience. So we're really looking for all ways to stretch and grow and continually retain that talent. We recently introduced unlimited vacation time. It's kind of one of those competitive things. We'll see how it goes over, but for the most part,
unlimited. Did you say unlimited vacation time?
I did. Unlimited vacation time.
Okay. How does that work?
Many bigger companies are doing this, and I've implemented this before. With the mindset here is you're an adult. We want you to meet your goals and objectives, get your job done, but you got to find some balance. You got to take time off, and you do that when you feel you need to do that, and meeting the needs of the business, of course, right? We want to make sure you're getting your job done. Mm-hmm. But go on that vacation, have that balance. And the idea is that you're working towards productivity, not FaceTime. So we want to we're trying to treat people like adults in this mindset. We have summer hours. Most of the time on a Friday we'll close early. In the summer we shut down during that winter break. And so we're really trying to make those perks part of the appeal as we recruit and retain employees.
Yeah. It's interesting. You said that not everybody is meant to be a manager, and I get it. Well, what's the requirements for a manager? What makes somebody better suited to be a manager as to be someone else who is just doing the job?
Yeah, there's two sides, right? There are some people who actually don't want to manage others.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the proverbial salesperson who gets promoted because they're a top seller, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're a great manager, and all of a sudden they manage a team of sellers. They're taken away from direct line to the client and the sale, and revenue goes down. So we want to avoid that model. But on the flip side, we are, if people are interested in becoming managers, there's certain criteria we want them to meet. We want them to be leaders, right? We want them to be people who communicate well, who collaborate, who are innovative, who can think outside the box. They can be strategic. They can take a risk, obviously a calculated risk, but they're not afraid. They're not afraid of change, and they're not afraid to help bring others along with them by motivating.
Right. Sometimes when I think of manager, again, an Office Space reference, the character Lundberg, the worst possible manager you could possibly have. That's not what but that, again, that's from the old school. And really, right. I think that you certainly, now, so these innovative practices that you're doing there at MindSpark, basically appealing to everybody, as you say, not everyone is cut out to be a manager, nor do they want to be a manager. That's an interesting, but yet still offering them a promotion. But just because they don't make manager doesn't mean they can't get a promotion or some sort of incentive that gives them either more responsibility or more pay or how do you deal with that?
Right. No, that's exactly right. We can promote people. So somebody would come into the organization, for example, as an engineer or software developer, might be promoted to senior software developer, then to principal software developer. So there's a career progression for folks in each of our functional areas, not just software, but finance or marketing, et cetera. And when you get to that point in your career where you feel like the only thing ahead of me, if I want to be promoted, is to manage other people, to take my boss's job, sometimes that can cause someone to leave. So we would offer a different track, and it's just a different titling structure, and it's a promotion, and it's based on performance, of course, and based on their skills and experience. But we would be able to promote somebody with compensation to go with it and have them become a more senior person in that career path and not have to manage people if that's not what they choose.
Well, again, I was going to say, do you ask them when they're up for promotion? You would say, well, what would you like? Would you like to be in a managerial position? I mean, do you ask these people, or how do you get the information from them? How do you find out?
Well, if I'm creating great bosses at MindSpark, these are folks who are having continual conversations with their employees about what motivates their employees and giving them the feedback about what it takes to get to the next level. So hopefully it wouldn't get to the point of consideration for promotion for us to know about that. We'll probably know along their career path if they're cut out for a managerial role. And if we start to see those great signs of them being a leader in the description I gave earlier, then we'll ask them, listen, you've got those leadership attributes. Would you be interested in growing your career into a managerial role if one were to become available? And that's the constant dialogue managers should be having with employees, right? It should be open. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you interested? And good managers are constantly finding that out.
Now sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is going to be something a little specific to MindSpark because we had a relationship with Slimware Utilities before they were acquired by MindSpark, and seeing them transition as an independent startup, and then they were acquired by MindSpark, and they really did retain a lot of what made Slimware Utilities Slimware Utilities. how you mentioned that sometimes you may purchase these startups and you have employees maybe cycle through the different parts of MindSpark. How difficult is it to keep that synergy, because Slimware Utilities was a startup. It was a very tight-knit group. How hard is it to say hey, we're going to send someone over, they're going to be working with you? How hard is it to keep that that startup mentality that we are a team, and then introduce new people to it?
Right. No, it's a great question. I think you've had Will Traves on your show, who came from our browser business, was with MindSpark, and we saw his leadership potential and partnered him with the then CEO Bob Bryant of Slimware when we acquired them, and they've co-run Slimware Utilities and in a very collaborative way. And we want them to keep that entrepreneurialness, if you will, if that's a word. But a lot of it has to do with great bosses, right? People love working for Bob, and now people love working for Will as well. And we also have other functions in the organization that have supported them from our core business. And so there's a little bit of creep or seep, if you will, across the organization, so that they feel a little bit the perks of being part of MindSpark. But we also allow them to operate somewhat entrepreneurially within MindSpark. So it's a fine line. It's having enough crossover as well as giving them enough autonomy to continue their business. We bought them for a reason, and we want to foster that.
Exactly. And of course, cloud computing, very big at Slimware Utilities, and the interactive, the collaboration, getting all of the latest sources. I assume experience with cloud computing is yet another sector that, as far as skills is concerned, when it comes to as MindSpark, that you're looking for.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know that Slimware's hiring a ton of people right now, but when they do, they certainly would put those positions up on our career site as well.
Yeah.
And would specify the skills they're looking for.
Sure. So we're almost out of time, Deb. Time does fly, doesn't it? But is there anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with before we say a good afternoon to you?
No, it's really been a pleasure being on your show, Craig. Thank you. I hope that I've been able to provide some useful insights about the job searching process and what we think about as an employer at MindSpark. And I know we were talking a little bit about that seasonality, but I think, as I mentioned, the demand for tech workers is always the war for talent, and continues to grow. And I see that coming up also into 2016. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So if you're still in school, or if you're in the tech curriculum there, don't wait till after you graduate to start looking. I would think that long before that, you want to start looking around, because there are plenty of opportunities out there. Can they go to the MindSpark website to see what jobs are being offered? And so where would they go?
Absolutely, mindspark.com, and there's a careers tab.
And the careers tab, and you can see everything there for yourself. Deb, again, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on today's Computer America show, and sharing some of your knowledge as to, and I would think that people who are listening to you would be extremely encouraged to know that there are job opportunities out there. I mean, that's a wonderful thing, not to have to worry.
Something, for the past, 8-9 years in the job market, it's been pretty doom and gloom. So this was a very positive conversation. Extremely
positive, and very encouraging. And Deb, again, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on the Computer America show today. And have a great rest of the week. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Deb. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. All right, there you go, Deb Josephs again with MindSpark Interactive Network, and painting a very positive, rosy picture. If you're in the tech industry, or you're getting ready to get into the tech industry, a lot of opportunities out there waiting for you. Don't wait. Just start looking around now. I mean, there are a lot of them out there.
Wait until you get your credentials. Make sure you have your certifications. Make sure you have your degrees, and then there's going to be work for you. There's going to be work for you.
Exactly. All right. Well, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be doing computer and technology news. And of course, that's brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And also in the second hour, we're going to be talking about CES, showstoppers, because our co-host, Ben, is going to be out there in full regalia. And just talk just a little bit about what you're going to be doing out there. I know it's January 6th of coming up.
January 6th will be the actual broadcast date that we do from Showstoppers. There will be hanging out with Sandy Berger, I believe is confirmed. David Perry is probably going to be out there. Charles Tindall, we still need to contact, but I believe so. Fan favorite. And we'll be out there interviewing anyone who happens to walk by, be it a janitor, be it a CEO. Whoever walks by,
Seconds.
we'll be sure to see what they're all about and why they're out at CES, because everyone out there has something to tell you about. So it should be very interesting.
And we're going to be out there with Pop Zara too. Pop Zara is going to be joining us. Josh Boykin, who's a contributing editor, or editor at large, actually, and a Computer America gamer correspondent is going to be with us, and another gentleman out with Pop Zara. And I don't know why I keep blocking it. My apologies. Herbert, yeah, exactly. He's going to be out there talking about
60 seconds.
Herbert's kind of the Sherpa of the whole thing. He's a veteran of CES, and he's going to be helping us little sheep really get to where we need to go, because he's been to about the last 12 of them.
Really? So you're going to have a guide to kind of get you through it, and you really need to, because the CES is a huge event. I mean, it's
I really don't want to go into this one blind.
Yeah, no, you don't want to. And obviously, it's good that you're going to have that leading up to it. All right, well, coming up in the next hour, computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And again, thanks to Deb Josephs, Senior Vice President of People Operations for the MindSpark Interactive Network, a leading consumer software applications and an operating business of IAC. All right, that's all coming up.
10 seconds.
Don't go anywhere. We also have another news tips bulletin review. It's all happening in hour 2 of the Computer America show.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, so we're all set. Let's stop the broadcast.